Hello. Hello. This is my third take because I bought a ring light and I gotta put it around the camera lens and I think my retinas are burning off, but it's fine. I look good. I think illiteracy must be up in this country because I think the articles are not doing as well as the videos, at least in terms of engagement, hearing back from people. The articles get more clicks, but God knows if people are actually reading them. Also, I did my makeup today. I didn't want it to go to waste. I know the last couple videos have been about like snooty, erudite topics like music and philosophy and tie-dye. Actually, that was an article, but still. As promised, this project is not entirely limited to things that make me or anyone else feel or seem smart. Everything is fair game. It's just about things that we've gotten more into over quarantine. So today, I'm going to wax poetic about a much more tragic figure in history than anything we have covered so far. The New York Jets. Yay, woo! Jets. I'm so sad. Oh, no. I got into the Jets, as every young woman in a long-term heterosexual relationship tends to, through my beloved boyfriend, who has been a Jets fan since before carbon dating was invented and before Pete Carroll went from Jets coach to transcendental meditation guru and also Seahawks coach. I grew up with parents who liked football because I like throwing Super Bowl parties, and both as a young emo and extremely unathletic bisexual, the people who played sports in school used to call me herpes lip, and so I just hated sports on principle. I lived a relatively sports-free life until I started dating a Yankees fan and a WWE fan. It was really fun, and I still kind of love wrestling. And when that relationship ended, a new one blossomed with a guy who was both a Yankees fan, I guess I just don't date Mets fans, and unfortunately, a Jets fan. I, a lifelong goth, found myself dating a jock. And what a time to join! This new quarterback named Sam Darnold was in the draft, and Jets fans are finally feeling hope for the first time in a little while. So, later that year, I put on my cutest little football outfit, turned a fierce football look, went to a preseason game. Let me set the scene. MetLife Stadium was huge. It was thrilling, riveting. I got cheese fries, and I got a can of wine. People were screaming. Big, sweaty, handsome men were throwing each other down in tight, green spandex outfits. Big, sweaty men. Big, stunning, rippled, sweaty men. And I decided I liked football. And though my interest in football may have started with big, sweaty men just pounding into each other, just ripping each other's shirts and grabbing and writhing, that's surprisingly not all I ended up liking about football. The physicality is really startling, but the technique in the playbook is actually just as interesting. It's like playing chess with real-life people. Also, the personalities on the field were very lovable, and each one of these little green men had their own stories, their own struggles, their own love of the game. The relationship between the coaches and the staff always felt like a soap opera, which was also so dramatic and exciting, and I couldn't wait to see what petty stunt they would pull next. Watching racial justice issues emerge also in this big world of old, powerful white guys and corporations and organizations with billions of dollars on the line, it felt almost like I was watching a microcosm of the American experience play out in real time, and it was so thought-provoking. Frankly, actually, the only thing I don't like about football are the fans. Which brings us to quarantine and my time with the Jets right now. Throughout the regular season and non-COVID years, I did learn a lot and talk a lot about football, but quarantine and the COVID season has provided a small amount of extra time and extra insight. These days, I have time to go check out Rich Samini's podcast. It's called Flight Deck. Please go check it out. It's really, really cool. He's really smart, and he's been covering the Jets for like 30 years. I read articles, I watch Bart Scott stare hopelessly into the camera as he once again grades the special teams a C- for another week of the postgame show in a row. That poor man. I'm still quite the novice, especially compared to my boyfriend, who probably knew Joe Klecko's sack stats before everyone else simply by closing his eyes and calculating the math in his head. But I'm interested, and I'm getting there, I think. So let's talk about the Jets. The 0-9 Trevor Lawrence seeking, hamstring injuring, leading in the league, roughing the passer, New York Jets. We are the worst team this season. We're worse than the Jaguars. We're worse than the Chargers. We're worse than ourselves, actually. This is the first time in Jets history we've gone this far into the season without winning at least one game. It even beats the 1-15 Rich Kotite era, in which our only win was carried on the Atlas-like broken shoulders of running back Adrian Murrell, who I think ran 199 yards in that game, which is a lot. It is looking bleak. It's looking bleak this season for the Jets. And not just for the usual reasons, like the entire team got COVID because they were partying in the back room of a restaurant, like some teams. Not saying any names. Or a plethora of other injuries because, like, there was no preseason. These is dark times. These is dark times for the New York Jets, let me tell you. Let's talk about why. Adam Gase. Actually, no, let me do it right. I brought a prop. Let me do it right. Adam Gase the head coach of the New York Jets. Why? We don't know. We could have had anyone. We could have had Eric Bieniemy. We could have had an up-and-coming college coach. But yes, in a very Jets move, we decided to get the quarterback whisperer who whispered thick-necked Ryan Tannehill right off the Dolphins and into the Tennessee Titans' loving arms, firing all the players on the Dolphins that he didn't get along with on the way. Adam Gase. Yes, I will be doing that every single time. It is way too funny. Was supposed to be training Darnold to become the next Joe Namath, but unfortunately, that has not yet happened. For the first part of the season, he was very fixed in his play calling and appeared to stick to runs, either to former Jet and part-time rapper Le'Veon Bell, or to the literal hardest working man in sports, Frank Gore. The plays had very little motion and very little adjustments to the defense. It looked to me, at least, like he was trying to stick to his very particular way of play calling, and if someone didn't get it or didn't do what he wanted, he'd pull them out and replace them with somebody else who also didn't know what route they were running because there was almost no communication because he talked to nobody but Sam Darnold. To me, that actually kind of explains the mystery of why LaMichael Pirine didn't get that many carries. It could be that Gase wanted to stick to his plan, and he wanted someone who knew what he wanted, a la Frank Gore. The times that Sammy was in, and he didn't have a shoulder injury, or mono again. Can he get mono twice? He often threw to spots and not people, or windows that were too tight, resulting in interceptions and picks. And when he couldn't get the ball out of his hand, because he had nobody to get it to, he would get sacked. And Flacco hasn't been much better. Though he's an expert and a vet, and he probably can learn Gase's playbook inside and out, the rest of the team has trouble keeping up. Guys like Braxton Berrios or Jamison Crowder or LaShawn Austin, I love his name, or Brashad Perryman or Chris Herndon, they're all amazing players with tons of skills, but sometimes they just look like they have no idea where they're going or what they're doing. To me, that's a problem with coaching. Luckily, when Gase realized he was going to get fired in the middle of the season if he didn't do something differently, he gave up play calling to, I don't know, the actual offensive coordinator, Dowell Loggins. He's still working with a very disorganized and overwhelmed personnel, but it seems like he caters more to the strengths than weaknesses of the players than just catering to his own ideas about what makes a good play. Do I honestly think that we'll keep this guy? Honestly, I don't know. I hope not. But I can see a world in which Christopher Johnson gives him another chance, thinks Sammy's the problem, and then we attempt to draft Trevor Lawrence if he doesn't fully curve us, which I think that he might. I mean, if Eli Manning can curve the Chargers, Trevor Lawrence can curve the Jets. It's not out of the realm of possibility. There is, though, one bright light in our offense that nobody can take away from us, and that is the big ticket. The sexiest man in football with the funniest memes on his Instagram story, 6'7", 363-pound Mekhi Becton. Oh. This is the part in the video where I would launch into some, like, John Oliver style rant like he does about Adam Driver, and maybe I would say something like, pancake me straight to heaven, you enormous godlike creature. Break every bone in my body like Bane did to Batman, you marvel of human nature. But I wouldn't do that, because I think it might come off a little weird, maybe a little creepy. Now we have Gregg Williams. Extraordinary defensive guy, or so we kind of thought. He's a cool dude. I saw him at the Jets practice once and he went up and talked to some fans for a bit, but second half adjustments are just not his strong suit, and personnel is kind of weak on defense. We're missing CJ Mosley. We sent Jamal Adams back into the Seahawks, and Steve McClendon gets to go live out his NFL life on a team that will hopefully win some games, because we all know he deserves it. Yeah, our defense is not quite our offense, but it really isn't the best. There are way too many holes, way too many dudes not knowing who they're covering, and way too many guys either not running fast enough or running the wrong way. And if we're playing on a Gregg Williams defense, that essentially means if you're losing, get angry, and if you're angry, get mean. That means penalties galore. So we have, 10 roughing the passer penalties, highest in the league. At least we're good at something, am I right, ladies? We have 4 pass interference. What else? 1 illegal block above the waist, I think. In total, a whopping 15 penalties from the defensive back, 11 from the defensive line. There's something there about the technique or the morale or even the coaching of the defense that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It seems like the defense needs a bit of an overhaul, but it also seems like we have some really solid guys with a lot of verve, like Quinnen Williams or Folorunso Fatukasi or Basham or Ashton Davis or Jordan Jenkins. He's my favorite. I can see their passion, and I can see that they're tired of losing, because you can see how mad they are in some games and how completely defeated they are in other games. Sometimes they're marginally better than the offense, and sometimes they just lose steam towards the end. I think a lot of the defensive problems would be solved with more organized coaching and maybe a few more powerful linebackers and some defensive linemen. I don't really know enough about defensive coaching to know whether or not the disorganization is coming from up top or individual positions coaches, but I do think that it needs some work. Luckily, with 19 picks in 2021 and 2022, and the second highest cap space in the league, second to, I think, the Browns are the first, we have plenty of opportunities for GM Joe Douglas to restructure the team in the coming years. You may know Joe Douglas as the sad, bald man sitting in the box during games, looking dejectedly at his phone. But we on the Jets know him as the guy who can't seem to pick a side, and we think he fell asleep during the Pats game, but we're not totally sure. I feel kind of bad for him anyway. Between saying that Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the future and saying this is not all on Adam Gase, we don't really know what's on this dude's mind. We know for sure that he wants to overhaul the Jets and remake the team in his own image, and we also know that he kind of got a raw deal after Mike McCagnon was fired and Joe Douglas got stuck with McCagnon's draft picks. He's taken on some great guys like Rashad Perryman. He's let go of some sassy players like Adams or Bell. And he's even made a mistake or two with Robbie Anderson, a mistake in which he owned up to, which is very rare to see. But it's kind of a mixed bag as to whether or not this guy is holding the company line and being really supportive of everyone before he can make a lot of Trevor Lawrence-y decisions in the future, or whether he just doesn't really know what to do or where to begin with a team that has so many issues. It's also hard to evaluate a guy who's only had 1 draft. I mean, he's doing the best he can with what he has, but as long as Christopher Johnson is on Team Adam Gase and is supportive of him, again, we don't know if he's holding the company line. It's not like they can fire him right away. So Douglas's contributions to me are more of a wait-and-see game than some of the other ones mentioned. He seems to be doing as well as he can, and I don't know, I trust him. He seems okay. So, there you have it. The Jets. The worst team this season. The lean, green, pick-throwing machine. This all begs the question, what can a losing team teach a new football fan about the world, or about themselves? I made a joke earlier about liking football but not liking the fans. I think to some degree that's true, but to some degree the Jets fans are the best fans in the league. Sure, they are downtrodden and consistently disappointed, and some of them live in a continual state of hope and others live in a perpetual pity party. But it's pretty easy to root for a winning team and to give up when the chips are down. Jets fans don't really seem to do that. And neither do the real Jets players, the ones who actually stick. That's actually one thing I really liked about Joe Douglas, is both in his 2020 draft picks and the choices he's made throughout the season, he likes leaders and he likes leadership. These are dudes who, they want to be there, they want to play, they want to make everyone else feel as thrilled as they are to be there. Guys like Mekhi Becton, who has a great sense of humor and electric energy, or Ashton Davis, who's just an athletic guy who loves to learn and improve. The more I learn about football, the more I know it's not just some like old dude yelling at a bunch of 20-something-year-old muscle men to tackle each other while racist COVID deniers drink Bud Light and scream. Although sometimes it is kind of like that, isn't it? It's just about a bunch of guys who love the game, who work their way up in the NFL through blood, sweat, and tears, and fight every time to make a name for themselves and for their brothers in arms on the field. It's about a staff who wants to support them in any way possible and to elevate the franchise and make the organization better. And more than anything, it's about a team that in order to succeed needs the best of the best and will literally crumble if just one cog in the machine is out of place. It's a testament, in my opinion, to achieving excellence despite years of frequent conflict. It's a testament to perseverance and to loyalty, especially. For every Manish Mehta out there who's throwing the Jets under the bus every week, there is a Bart Scott who says, don't play for the name on the back of the jersey, play for the name on the front of the jersey. And yes, the Jets do need a ton of work, and we're way worse now than we've been, I think, ever, actually. But if we didn't think it was possible to get better from rock bottom, all the fans would leave and the team would just disband. I think if everyone were as loyal and as loving and as hopeful as Jets fans, even if they try to cover it with pessimism, then we would live in a much different world, And as for myself, I learned that just because you don't think you're going to like something doesn't mean you won't like it. Sometimes it's a struggle to keep your mind open to stuff, especially if you spend most of your life in a fixed viewpoint about it that's entirely based on judgment bias. Even if football isn't the deepest or the most meaningful thing in the entire world, and even if there are like really dark and really uncomfortable parts about it, which there for sure are, I still think it's worth enjoying. There's like nothing embarrassing or uncool about liking some parts of Americana culture, even if there are parts of America that are not so great and fun, which there are, and even if the people who like Americana culture can sometimes be a little bit whacked out. Because if we judged every medium by the fans, then we would just not like anything. Fans are terrible. Everywhere. And honestly, if I can love Bob Seger and Harley Davidsons and my red, white, and blue socks that have little eagles on them, I can love the Jets. Even if I don't love the color green. I'm getting used to it. Anyway, until next time, know thyself. And go Jets!